Okay, I'm here. I'm live again. Let's see. Let me close this window. I got a couple windows open. Go to the link in the description box. Let's see. Oh, or the one that Deb posted. Okay, sorry, people who are watching me try to type this stuff out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so somebody said I was talking about microwaves. So what I was saying, let me just get right into it. Is when it comes to heating up a rice pack or a bean pack or a corn pack, because it's all dried stuff, right? The microwave just works best because you're going to keep your moisture content in there, where other types of heat dries it out and it doesn't hold the heat as long. So what I was saying is that we use that for sore muscles, for like I'm always seeming to sprain something or whatever. Use it for that quite a bit, and neck. And then Patrick likes to use them in the wintertime because we don't heat our bedroom. And so it can get pretty cold in there. And he likes to heat those up and use them as his Tootsie Toaster, in case that part got cut off. His Tootsie Toaster. That's what he calls it. I laughed the first time he said that. I laughed so hard. I just thought, he goes, is that cute? And I'm like, that is so cute. Tootsie Toaster. Okay, so I only got a couple more things I was going to list. And we did pretty good. We had a pretty good run before we got cut off. So yes, Linda, you are in the right place. Anyway, patches. I really like to use old flannel, as long as it's a really good shaped flannel or good thick flannel, like from some of Patrick's old thick flannel shirts, or jean material, from old jeans, denim, to make patches for things. But you can use any fabric if you just want to patch stuff up. Sometimes what I'll do, if it's just something like, okay, I got a little hole, I got a stain on this apron, I'm just going to put some patches on it to make it look cute and hide the stains or the holes. Then I don't really care so much about the thinness of the fabric because it's not necessarily a worn spot. I'm just trying to cover stuff up, and then you can make it look cute. And I always leave the edges rough. And just do a zigzag stitch. I don't bother folding them over and hemming them. I used to have years ago, this pair of denim short alls. They were my very, very, very favorite pair. They were loose and baggy and comfortable. They kept me cool. And I kept wearing holes in those things, and I kept putting more patches on them, but I would add more patches every time just to make it look, this is the way they're supposed to look. And they were cute. It made them look more cute, but they were so comfortable. I loved them for wintertime. So, but yeah, then the last one was, this is one that the idea I got from Instagram was, somebody said they like to take old jeans and then make long strips out of them and braid them together, and then use that to make a washable, durable braided rug. I love that idea. And you would have that, the kind of frayed edges all around. I think that would be so rustic and cute that it's making me think, maybe, because I still have tons of denim, because people would give me all their old jeans because I was making all these jean quilts, a lot of them just for us or to give to family, but then I would make some and donate them to some charitable causes that were doing auctions. So people, because they would see me do that, they would donate these old jeans. And so I still have a ton, and we have so many denim quilts around here now that it's like, I really don't need any more. But and my kids all each have two, and I haven't made any for my grandbabies yet, any denim quilts. So there's that. There's always that, maybe when they're older. So anyway, so just a few ideas there for ways to recycle old fabrics, or mostly repurposing old clothes, whether it be worn out, stained, or it's just something you don't like or wear anymore. So, oh, that's right. Congratulations on, let's see, between 5 days old, 5 days old. Congratulations. I remember you said that the other day. Oh, and by the way, we still don't have a new grandbaby yet. We are still waiting. I think she's like 10 days past her due date now. So she might end up, she doesn't want to be induced, but I don't know. I have the mixed feelings on the inducing things, because every child's different, and usually a due date is an estimate. So anyway, she's had a couple of false labors, but then nothing. I think there's ways they can induce that don't require using Pitocin or any other injections or chemicals or whatever. I don't agree with. They did that to me with my first son, because I'm a small person and they can tell he was going to be a little big for me. At least that's what they assumed. Well, it was 2 days of labor that ended in a cesarean section anyway. And I felt so, the way it made me feel was like I had given up, even though it was horribly painful, because the anesthesia that they gave me wore off right as they were cutting me open. So it was still as painful. But, my second child, I had natural, but they were almost going to induce me then. I'm like, no, what? What are you thinking? He was only a total of 12 hours. I mean, come on. Why? And he was 2 weeks early. I thought that was silly. Like, no, you're not doing that. I'm not doing that again. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of a, how long do you wait? So at any rate, yeah, and you can, I don't know. I just know there's other things they can do to help get that baby to hurry itself along. I know Kayla's done. She just wants it. She wants it over. Okay, so the last thing, I got my 2 main topics done. The last thing I was going to talk about, where is it? Was simply just a few random topics for, a Q&A time. And then if there's any questions, I might have missed them on the last live. And if I did, I'm sorry. Let's see. I could always go. I still have that window open, so I can always go back and check. That's if my throat's going to hold out. I'm doing okay. It's a little sore, but one question that came in that I have a separate video on, just on what is a SCOBY. I wanted to bring us up again. What is a SCOBY and what do you do with it? So a lot of people associate a SCOBY with just kombucha, but kombucha is basically, if you do kombucha the old-fashioned way and not the fancy schmancy way everybody does it now, it basically is just black tea vinegar. That's all it is. And it gets a SCOBY, which is that thick mat on top. Well, a lot of your vinegars will do exactly the same thing. They'll get a thick mat on top. Not all of them will. A lot, like most of my herbal vinegars don't. And if they do, they get a really, really paper thin one but it's still vinegar. Doesn't mean it's not vinegar just because it doesn't get a SCOBY. Some people call that the mother. It's basically the same thing. It's just that some people, if it's on a vinegar, they'll call it a mother. If it's on kombucha, they'll call it a SCOBY. It's the same thing. It may have different stuff in it depending on what you use to make the vinegar, but they're the same thing. So SCOBY is an acronym. A lot of people don't realize that. So symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. That's where you get SCOBY, SCOBY. That's why if you want a plural for SCOBY, you don't change it to IES because it's an acronym. It's SCOBYs with just an S added to the end. Or you can say symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeasts. Just kidding. Who's going to do that? It's too long. So but then the main question was not just what is it, but if you get that forming on your vinegars, like people who do kombucha will just keep using the SCOBY, right? And they'll just start a new batch using that. You can do that with your vinegar. I never have. I found it pointless, but if you're doing your vinegar, you get a SCOBY, you can take that SCOBY and you can use that when you start a new batch of vinegar. It's not necessary, but I suppose the nice thing about it is that it would help work as a weight, a cover to hold stuff under there, but you're still going to need that oxygen exposure, which is why I wouldn't prefer using one. If I was going to add a SCOBY from another vinegar to my vinegar, which is totally unnecessary, I'll say again, I would put it way down at the bottom so that my vinegar can get plenty of oxygen. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. Part of it is because the old fashioned way of doing kombucha, it was just you took it as a medicine. It wasn't a fancy flowered up drink. It was a medicine, and so you took it as a vinegar, black tea vinegar, or just tea vinegar. It could be oolong, it could be green, it could be white. So there's Tyler. Well, at least he made it to our second stream, our backup stream. But okay, what do you do with it? So whether you can use it to start more vinegar if you want. I've had some people tell me they take theirs and dehydrate it and then powder it up and use it as a seasoning. Now, I did take one time because I tend to get really big ones on my peach vinegars and my apple vinegars. Those kind of vinegars tend to get quite a bit. You take them out and it forms another one in storage. I dehydrated a little bit of one time, and then I'm like, that's an interesting idea. And then tasted it. I'm like, ew, gross. I don't like it. Nope, not for me. But some people do. Some people eat them. They'd be quite healthy for you. That's for certain. But yuck. I don't like the taste, and then I don't like the texture. It's just, yeah, it's just gross. But, to each their own. But my chickens love them. So I just throw them to the chickens. Now, I'm sure there's all kinds of people that have many other ideas of what to do with a SCOBY. If you can throw it in the chat, and if you want, or if you're watching this as a separate video that I make later, you can put those in comments down below, your thoughts, what you like to do with SCOBYs, vinegar SCOBYs, kombucha SCOBYs. Because some people who they really like making kombucha, they can end up with a lot of the SCOBYs, and so they'll take the extras from those, they'll save some and have a little SCOBY hotel. And then, you're still going to end up with a lot you can give away, whatnot, but still you're going to end up with a lot. And maybe some of you people have some good ideas to add. Anyway, you see my disgusted face, because I still think, I'm not as scared of a SCOBY, but to eat it now, no, not my thing. And Patrick could probably not touch it with a 10-foot pole, just because the look of it just scares him. And some people compost them. You can compost them. You're adding some good stuff to your soil when you do that. So, but I like to give them to my chickens. I like to give them as much of that kind of stuff as I can. You know what, Tina Marie? That is an excellent idea. I think somebody else said that. Thank you for throwing that in there. So would that be a good probiotic and a capsule? So yes, you could dehydrate it and then encapsulate it. That's a really good idea. If you're like me and you're like, that tastes really nasty, then that would be a good way to do it. I'm sure there's probably other ways like that. So an oversized hockey puck made of jelly. Ew. I don't think it would go across the ice quite so well. Of course, if it was frozen, it's going to be on the ice anyway. Maybe. Okay, so somebody also asked me, oh darn, I didn't get the video to this, but I have an old video that's like 7, 8 years, maybe even almost 9 years ago. Long time, so the picture is going to be really dark. I probably should do a new video on it, or have I? I know I did a video on best herbs for dogs, but I have one on a pain reliever idea. I need to make some more of this because, Cody, I just haven't needed to give it to him in a long, long time. But it just basically involved coconut oil and some herbs like turmeric, ginger, cat mint. You could use catnip. What else did I put in there? Seems like there's some other herb I put in there. Cinnamon, some good dog pain relieving herbs. But if you make it like using these, because I've also used these for that. You know, these things I use for the candy molds, you can use for soap molds as well if you want little tiny soaps. But you can make like little dog things out of these. So, and then you pour it after you melt your coconut oil, you mix your herbs in there. You know, they're good for pain. Catmint and catnip for dogs is a sedative, a natural sedative. You could also use valerian is another good one. I would use the leaves in that case, so I make sure it doesn't get too strong. But dogs typically like the taste of coconut oil. So, you know, you mix that up, melt it down, then pour it into these and then freeze them so they solidify. You might want to keep them in the freezer if you live in a really warm climate. But if you live in your house stays relatively warm, you could just probably press them out and they'll be fine. Especially if you use the refined coconut oil, it's going to hold its shape better than the unrefined. But that worked really good. And a couple of times that Cody's hurt himself playing too hard with his sister. You know, I must have sprained something because he was in a lot of pain. But so yes, I do have a dog pain remedy. And there we go. Deb did post a link to that there. Then somebody was asking me that photo I put on my community section of my toaster oven. You know, I thought, why haven't I thought to do this before? It's actually been cold the last couple days, but that day I was baking bread. It was a hot day, and I'm like, man, I do not want to bake this bread in the house. It's like, oh, this toaster oven's super light. You know, I use it in the summertime. I plug it in. We have a solar outlet in our kitchen, and so it gets used on the solar there. But I also have a solar. I don't know where the outlet is. I might be in the shop, but anyway, I have an extension cord that I have coming out the window of Patrick's shop that's plugged into solar power. And so I'm like, I can just take this toaster oven, move it, because I already have my solar oven full of stuff that day. And I just set it on the table there and then plugged it into the extension cord that's plugged into a solar outlet. So that's always handy for like when I want to like dehydrate stuff out there. I can do the same thing. I just have yet to move my dehydrator out there. I need to do it, but I'd rather have a separate table for it. Okay, my throat's starting to itch. Hang on. Because I don't want to keep it on that table all the time during the summer because we use it for other things. But that day it was perfect. Moved it out there, plugged it in to that extension cord that's plugged into our solar outlet. Well, somebody was asking me, well, could you take a picture of your solar outlet? Well, honestly, I'm not exactly sure where that outlet is. In fact, it might be plugged into another extension cord that's plugged into an outlet because he's got a couple solar outlets out on the exterior of the shop and inside the greenhouse. And so he's got extension cords going into those that go all different directions so he can run his shop tools and stuff because he doesn't actually have an outlet inside the shop, I don't think, that runs on solar. So I couldn't really get a picture, but it's just any of the solar outlets we have. A lot of them are like in the hall, in the kitchen, in the 4 places we have them in the house. They're just look like a normal outlet and they're installed. Patrick installed them right next to the public power outlets. So we have public power and a solar power one in each of the 4 rooms. So the foyer where the washer and dryer are, the dining room, the kitchen, and then the living room just on the other side of this wall. And then like the dehydrator is running on solar because I got an extension cord currently going across here and goes out into the hallway and it's plugged into the solar outlet out there. So I do have videos where I show some of this, but yeah, somebody was just asking me that. So if you're unfamiliar, we have both public and solar power because where we live, we could not depend 100% on our solar power. We just couldn't, just wouldn't work Thank you, Deb. Yeah, really, really getting itchy right now. So we do both. Get the best of both worlds. In the see in the summertime, our public power is more of a backup to our solar power, and in the wintertime, our solar power becomes a backup to our public power if we lose, if we have a power outage. But there's times like right now, it's been a pretty. The last 2 days have been pretty dark, so we're not getting a ton of solar power collection. And I'm still running a lot of stuff off solar, but I try not to be too dependent on it on days like today because I don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. And I want to make sure I always have, we always have plenty in our battery bank just in case. So I try not to be too dependent on it days like today. So anyway, we do have a playlist. And again, I didn't think to gather links to anything that I was going to cover in this section, but we have a playlist on our solar power. I forget what the playlist is called, but there's an old video where Patrick shows our original setup that we had. The solar panels on top of the house are on top of the shop. They're on the shop, are all still the same, but the power room itself and the way it's set up is different. Our battery bank is different now than it was in that old original photo, or video, but there's or last year it was, where Patrick rebuilt that room and we were supposed to get the Lion Energy. They had all these promises. Oh, we're going to bring out this whole, this battery bank, and we're going to do all this in exchange for having an affiliate and stuff. And I'm like, cool, great, because we needed a new battery bank. Our batteries were just getting old and not holding a charge too well anymore. So it was so cool, but we had to rebuild that room, poured all that money into rebuilding that room, and they all of a sudden dropped all communication with us. Wasn't that nice after we put in all that work? But thankfully, we already had another set of batteries that we bought used that I think had come from cell towers or something like that. I don't remember. They've been great, but the reason we had those is we had out our other piece of property because we were either going to set up a solar setup out there at our second piece or out at our third piece of property out of town. Well, now we don't have that because we'd already given away all our old batteries or thrown them out. And so we didn't have a battery bank anymore. And when they just dropped all communication, we waited for months. Just nothing, not a peep, not a word. We have the email. I've talked about this before. We have the whole email thing that says that, oh, we're going to give you this, and this. And Patrick told him, okay, I got to rebuild this room to make it bigger to hold all this stuff because it was going to take up a lot more room than what we had. And we have it all. I still have it saved. And they just dropped the ball completely. Just wouldn't even communicate with us anymore. And we tried emailing different people. There were several people within that thread. Nothing. That was really disgusting. So I would never recommend Lion Energy. I don't care who's pushing it, just because that was really a cruddy move that they pulled on us. So at any rate, and I don't recommend EMP Shield anymore either because of some of their shenanigans, and they're kind of related. Anyway, but yeah, so we have the whole video series and it shows them doing that and then how we ended up. And I think in that series, I might have even added the video where I said what happened to our solar power and went into more detail about that. So, yeah, you want, it's really nice as a content creator when you can do business with someone like the Superb lids or Mother Earth products or Vanilla Bean Kings or some of the other companies I've done business with over the years that have been good people to deal with. They interact with you. They're very upfront. I've never had any issues. And so you kind of, when someone reaches out to you and you're like, oh, wow, this would be great because we really needed this. And we don't hurt. There was other channels doing videos on Lion Energy. And we're like, oh, well, they must be pretty good. And then they treat you like that. It's like, okay, nope. I mean, I'm still irritated at Greenstock for the way they just dumped me. No, not a word. They just all of a sudden just deleted my affiliate and didn't even tell me why. I'm thinking, well, is it because I don't push your product every single video I have? What is that? What's that about? Or because I give people options if they can't afford a green stock? I love that Mother Earth Products has never done that to me. Because I'll talk about how I feel about freeze-dried foods, generally speaking, and why I won't buy a freeze dryer. And I'm very honest about some of the products I've tried of theirs, some of the things about them that, well, there's this or that, but I really, really like this. And they appreciate the fact that I'm honest and they don't dump me because I'm going to be honest about it. I think that's what some companies are. They don't like it if you're actually honest. If you don't give their product 100% thumbs up on every aspect, okay, you want honesty and integrity, or you want us to lie to people? Nope, not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you some fake review if I don't like your product or I don't think it's worth the money. Or if it's something like the Nakano knives, which I'm really happy with them, and I will share that. Yes, I really like their products. I really like their knives. However, I spent most of my married life using old knives that were handed down to us that worked just fine. And you know what? I could still cook and make good meals without having a $200 knife or $300 knife or whatever. So I'm still going to be honest with people and say, you don't have to spend that kind of money on a knife to get by. You don't. Is it nice? Yeah. But I got them for free. Well, not all of them. I bought some of them. There were some that I did buy because I liked them so much. Like I bought their steak knives, and I'm so glad I did. I love their steak knives. They're beautiful. They work great. And I bought what else did I buy? I bought the set of 3 paring knives. I love them. Okay, because I wanted to show that, I'm not just looking for free stuff. I'm willing to buy them because I like them that much. But anyway. So I think honesty is far more important. And I appreciate the people that buy through my links because that really does help me out. But if I find, and I still haven't gone through and removed the MP Shield links from all my older videos. I keep forgetting I got to go back. There's so many of them. But I did remove it immediately from any future videos because that's upload defaults. So you can set up your on YouTube. You can't do this on Rumble. You can set up upload defaults. So like I'll have all the links of places like Vanilla Bean King, Superb brand lids and jars, as your standard, and so on and so forth. So those are always in there. And then so they just go in automatically. So I have to remember like, oh, I'm not doing business with this place anymore. I got to go remove this. So anyway. Let's see. Other things. Oh, another question. Somebody was asking me about meal plans. Do I have a video on meal plans? Not entirely. Kind of. Because I have a video series on, what's the name of it? Making the most of leftovers. I have a video series on that. And in a way, that is my form of meal planning. Because I might be like, okay, I don't always think this far ahead, but I might say, okay, what meat thing am I going to bake this time? Is it going to be fish? Is it going to be a chicken? Is it going to be a turkey? Is it going to be a beef roast? Do I want to pull out some? Well, if I'm pulling out hamburger, that's different, ground meat. But if it's like something like a roast of some kind, whether it be beef, elk, venison, or a chicken or a turkey, then or fish for that matter, if I'm going to cook up a lot of fish, or steak, even steak. It will be something that I'll cook it one night, however we want to eat it. Like if it's just a roast or just a whole chicken with rice or potatoes, or if it's if it's steaks, then I'll barbecue up more than I know we'd eat, and then use the leftover to cut it because it's already cooked, it's ready to go. All I got to do is cut it in little strips, and then we can make fajitas out of it. So that's like the most of my meal planning. It's usually around whatever big thing I'm going to make. So if I'm baking a chicken, it's like, okay, I'm going to do a chicken. And then the next night I'll make chicken Alfredo out of some of the leftover meat. And then the next night I'll make chicken fried rice or a chicken pot pie or what other common chicken things? Or something I don't do very often, but almond chicken is another one we really like. Sometimes I'll do the spicy orange chicken, or I call it Asian orange chicken because it's kind of got, more Asian flair. Both of them do. And I like using the meat from that. Usually most of that's going to come from the breast because you're going to get most of that meat where it's going to hold together good, and then you can bread it. It doesn't hold together perfect, but I don't care. I like the smaller pieces, bread it and fry it. So I have videos on that. But anyway, I think those are all within the making the most of leftover series. A lot of these just different recipes. And then like the barbecue sauce. So if I do a beef roast, I can take the barbecue sauce, make up some barbecue sauce, take the leftover beef roast and cut it up into small pieces, and then mix it with the barbecue sauce and then serve that over rice or noodles or even toast if you wanted to. There's just so many cool things you can do with leftover meat like that. So that's pretty much the extent of my meal planning. Is if I get a hankering for making something that I would usually make from steak, leftover roast, leftover chicken or turkey, then I'll make that thing with the plan of doing one of those. But sometimes it's not even that as forward thinking. I'll just say, oh, I think I should make a chicken. I'll figure out what I'm going to make later. And usually whatever meal or two I make from leftover meat usually lasts 2 or 3 nights as it is. Like right now, one of the last things I did was a chicken. And so I think I made chicken Alfredo. Yep. And then I made chicken fried rice. Then I cooked. So, got one meal out of the chicken, ate on that. Made the chicken Alfredo. That lasted for a few nights. Made the chicken fried rice. That lasted for a few nights. Because usually it's Patrick eating dinner, not me. So that's one of the reasons why it lasts so long. And then took the bones and all the leftover bits of the chicken and made chicken soup, chicken vegetable soup. And so that's what's in there now. Though today even though there's still some chicken soup left, I'm going to make lasagna. I got it started. I got the sauce made, but I got to go in there and cook my noodles and then layer everything. I got the ricotta and the mozzarella, and I always mix egg in with the ricotta, or cottage cheese works good too. And I cheat, and I call it cheating because it's easier. I like to use farfalle noodles, or some people refer to it as bow tie noodles or pasta. I like to use the farfalle because they lay flat. And so I'll just cook a pot of those and then just layer those in there instead of having to deal with the the big pieces of lasagna noodle, the actual lasagna noodles that never seem to quite, or pasta that never seem to quite cook all the way through or cook good enough. Anyway, I just like using when I came up with that idea several years back, I was like, this is the way I'm going to do it from now on. It's easier and it will fit into any pan. It doesn't matter if it's round or rectangular. That's the other thing. The other one, you got to have the rectangular pan. You got it, and then if it's too long, well, now you got this piece at the end. And you got to put a piece this way. I hate all that. It takes too long. Keep it simple. So what else? Oh, I don't know. There's so many ideas. I mentioned the fajitas. Another one is like if I did like maybe a beans and cornbread one night with using pinto beans, and then I had like maybe some leftover beef or something like that, then I can mix it in with the beans and cornbread and add some Mexican spices like chili powder, cumin, maybe some paprika, and whatever else sounds good, some cheese. Make some burritos out of it. Of course, I got to make the tortillas. I haven't done that in a while. I need to do that one again. That's what I got to do again. Make beans and cornbread, Make sure I have some beef, even if it's like my dehydrated ground beef, or I just pull some more ground beef out and mix it in with the beans, and then kind of mash the beans, cook them again, so that they're basically refried beans, and then add the spices, and then we have beef and bean and cheese burritos. Lots of things you can do with leftover meat. So that is again, these days is the extent of my meal planning. Now, years ago when my kids were young, I used to do meal planning based on what was on sale at the grocery store, because I didn't have the same kind of food storage I have now. So, oh, this is on sale, I'm going to get this, this, and this, and I'll make that, and I'd have my meals figured out for the whole week. It's just two of us. I don't do that anymore. So anyway, but that is one way too. But if you already have food storage, you're not usually planning on what's on sale at the store, because you already have your ingredients on hand. So that's the thing. That's why my favorite things about having food storage is all my ingredients for anything I want to make are here. They're already here. They're in the freezer. They're in the pantry. They're, yeah, I got them. And it's like whenever I make the soup, it doesn't matter if it's chicken or beef or whatever, and I'm adding vegetables, or most of the time, I would say about 95% of the time, it's dehydrated stuff I'm adding to the bits of chicken, the little bits of leftover chicken that were still on the bones, and the bone broth. And then I put in my mixed greens. I put in some spices and herbs, and then dehydrated green beans, dehydrated carrots, that's the one freeze-dried food I really like. That's a vegetable, but not really a vegetable, is the Mother Earth Products freeze-dried organic sweet corn. I love adding that to the soups. So good. But zucchini, I'm actually out of dehydrated zucchini. Can't believe it. I had so much put up. I'm sure there's got to be a jar hiding somewhere. But yeah, I'll add those to soups and sauces all through the year. And it's like, man, my zucchini just seems like it's taking forever to start growing. I need to start dehydrating it. Yeah. So all dehydrated onions, garlic, all of it. Dehydrated stuff. Just mushrooms, whatever sounds good. Just throw it in there. It's great. That's what I love, using dehydrated stuff. The sauce I'm making for the lasagna, all dehydrated ingredients going into that. Mostly my own dehydrated tomatoes from my own garden. So, and then my own dehydrated rosemary, oregano, thyme. No, not thyme. Well, the basil is partly mine because I don't grow enough sweet basil, Italian basil, to get me by. So I get the organic basil from Frontier, and then I combine whatever I can grow that year and dry it and mix it in there. But anyway, yeah. And then the mixed greens, that goes in my sauce too, because I try to put it in everything. So we're getting all the, the dandelion, the nettle, all the nutrients of that good stuff. So yeah, I'm sure there's more I could say on that, but you can always check out my playlist. Phone dying, going to the computer, and let Deb do the chatting. Deb talking to herself again. Tyler talks to himself in here sometimes too. So the last thing I was going to say, that some of you who might follow me on social media like X or Instagram might have seen this post. I did a picture. I think I put it on X. I don't know. I know I put it on Instagram. A picture. I set up the kiddie pool, which is actually a dog pool. Makes a far better kiddie pool because it's tougher. Because they make them for dogs, right? So the bottom of it is it's made of better material, and the sides, and it folds up, and it's not inflatable. So you don't have to worry about getting holes in it. And so it's been a great kiddie pool, for the grandbabies. So I finally set it up the other day. Jace played in it for 4 hours. 4 hours. He would come out, go get a toy and throw it in there, and maybe come out and get a snack, then get back in the pool and stand there and eat the snack. So of course I had to scoop out all the crumbs. But at any rate, that was cool. But then, I don't typically watch him on Saturdays and Sundays. So I'd like to get some clean water in there. Because Tuesday, unless Kayla goes in there anytime soon now, which she should, I might have the grandbabies tomorrow, um, all of them, but I'd like to have some fresh water in there if it's warm enough tomorrow. So it's like, I use just the city water to fill that up with, not our rainwater. And well, by the time it's sitting there, all the chlorine's going to be dissipated. That's naturally in our naturally that's added to your city water. At least we don't have fluoride in there anymore. I'm so glad. But anyway, I have this really big pitcher I bought many years ago. So what I've been doing is just taking the water and first watering all the plants around the deck that are on the deck. Super easy to scoop it out because the pool's already on the deck. And then every time I head out to, whether I'm going to collect eggs or get some of the filtered rainwater, because I got to switch everything out because we just emptied out a jug. And so I got to go fill up another jug. I'll take a big scoop of that and go pour it on other garden areas. So I'm trying to make the most out of that water. And I got most of it out so far. I still got to get more because I hate just anything, just draining it. And it's just going under the deck and not watering anything. I hate that. So I try to use it as much as possible. And I won't put it out in the backyard because I don't even let the grandbabies play back there hardly ever because there's so much chicken poop all over the place. So no, they don't get to play in the backyard. It's kind of sad. But that's the bad part about having the chickens is I can't just let the grandbabies play in our backyard. But at least we have the property down the road, so whenever they go down there, they got tons of room to run. And all the swings and the tetherball and that kind of stuff that Patrick put it down there. So yeah, anyway, if you ever set up a kiddie pool, I've even wondered if looking at the outlet, the port, if I could just simply hook a hose up to that. And then just drain it wherever I want it to drain to make the most out of that water. So yeah, chicken poop fertilizer. Yeah, they get it all over their shoes. They're going to fall in it. They're going to track it up onto the deck. I mean, I kind of do too, but I've set up mats so I can wipe my feet up off and I have special boots for going out in the yard with. That don't come in the house ever, but I still have a nice like scrubby mat that I got recently, and I have it on the top step. So before I come through that gate coming up onto the deck, I wipe my feet off the best I can on there. And sometimes if it's a nice enough day, I'll keep a pair of my regular shoes, slip-ons, of course, right next to the gate. And then keep those boots there so that I can not even have to wear those boots across the deck. But if it's a rainy, wet day, I can't do that because then my shoes and my boots would get wet. So at any rate, it's pretty cool. So I think that was it. So if anybody had, it's probably going to take me way too long to try to go over and see if anybody had questions. So if anybody has questions, I can stay a little bit longer. That either you've asked and I missed, or if somebody else in chat already answered them, awesome. Thank you, guys. I know a lot of you do that. I really appreciate that. My makeup looks fat. Really? Thank you. I didn't do anything, just eyeliner and mascaras. I do have this kind of sparkly stuff I put on my eyelids. This real pale stuff I've had for many, many years. I think it's probably got some kind of mica powder, but that's just to make it keep my eyes from looking like just holes in my face. And cover up a couple of my stress bumps from all the stress I've been under. But thank you for that. That reminds me of something I was going to say. So I do have like a recipe on making your own homemade mascara, and I mostly would be using that. But I do go through these phases where I like to try different other types of mascara because it's not waterproof, the homemade stuff. I love it for just day-to-day stuff, but I'm always experimenting, trying different brands of waterproof mascara. And some of the natural ones burn my eyes. The so-called natural ones are just like terrible. And it's like, okay, no, not that one. But anyway, I find some that I like, okay, and I wanted to let you guys know, even if you don't get into making your own mascara, if you find a mascara you really like and you want to extend it, it's starting to get kind of dried out. Instead of adding like water, or I've added the colloidal thing to it, to mascaras that are starting to get dry, because that's going to also kill bacteria and stuff in there, and that kind of extends it out. But another thing, one of the things I've been doing lately is adding a few drops of castor oil right into the tube and then mixing that around in there. And it actually works pretty good. It comes to a point where you can get too much castor oil and then it just doesn't, even with the waterproof stuff, it doesn't hold. Today I'm wearing a L'Oreal waterproof, which is it's pretty good. It's not like the all natural stuff, but it's it's pretty it stays in place pretty good. I mean, it's hard to wash off. It's not what you'd call a wash off waterproof. And there's another brand I'm going to try. But yeah, I've tried all kinds of so-called natural ones, and those are more likely to burn my eyes than the supposedly unnatural ones. I try to be as natural as possible, but I do like to have a good waterproof mascara every now and then. Especially if I'm really tired. And my eyes tend to get water when I get really tired. And then, of course, I have my emotional times where I'm going to cry. And it is nice to have waterproof. If I know I'm going to a wedding or anything where it's going to be emotional, waterproof. Rug recommendations. I'm guessing that's for me. Do you mean like carpeting, or because I don't really know what to say on that. Our carpeting, I'm sure that we put in, I don't know how many years ago. It's a Berber rug, which I'm pretty sure is all unnatural fibers, which I wouldn't. It's held up great, but my plan is at some point, because we did realize we have a beautiful, well, it's not so beautiful anymore, but hardwood floor in our living room and down the hall and into the bedrooms, is I would like to just pull all that carpeting up and put, just use throw rugs and as natural a fabric as I can find where I need it. And then, but we'd have to refinish all that wood. It'd be a lot of work. Because it's going to have the nail holes from the carpet and all that, which is one of the reasons I just haven't gotten around to tearing out that carpet. But in a lot of ways, I hate it, especially now that I have chickens and there's always mud holes in the wintertime. And then the dogs are running out there and they run through the mud holes. I mean, we'll take our shoes off. You can't get the dogs to wipe their feet or take their feet off. So, or wear shoes that they can take off. So mud's always getting tracked onto my practically white carpet. But anyway, so I don't really know what to say as far as that. I do have some throw rugs that I think, gosh, I don't even know if they're natural, but they're kind of a braided rug. But I'd like to get into, if I'm ever going to do that, maybe making my own. I really like the idea of the jeans, using the jeans and having a real rustic throw rug. I think that'd be cool. And it would be cotton, be a more natural fabric. And I could easily throw it in the wash. These braided ones I got, they're real nice, but sadly, they're supposed to be wash them. But when I wash them, the braiding part's fine, but where they're sewn together has come apart in a lot of places. I've had to go back and hand stitch a lot of them. So for outdoor rug cleaning off chicken stuff. Oh, you said rug. Well, it's not a rug, it's a mat. It's like a rubber mat that's got the little scrubby things that stick up. It's all rubber. So, sorry, rich girl. I should have known what you were asking me. But no, it's I think that's why it threw me off, because it's not what I'd call a rug. It's just one of them rubber mats, boot scrubbing. I think Tyler was the one that reminded me they made such a thing, and so I looked it up. And I'm like, that'll be perfect for putting it on the top of this, there so I can, and I do have to go rinse it off really good every so often. It gets just loaded with chicken poop and mud, grass. Oh my gosh. I feel the same way about typing on my phone. I hate it. I still hate it. I use my computer for almost everything. In fact, I removed a whole bunch of apps off my phone. I even removed my YouTube dashboard. I only have my YouTube, just the regular app on there so I can listen to videos while I'm, carrying my phone around, listen to stuff while I'm doing my chores. But I removed my Facebook app, my Insta. I left the Instagram for simply because I can make reels straight to Instagram, and then it will save it to my phone, and then I can take that reel and upload it to YouTube, X, Facebook. That works really good. It's the fastest way for me to do that. Sometimes I make shorts where if I do little cuts and stuff and then I want to overlap them, I'll do that on the computer. But that's the only reason I keep Instagram on my phone, is because of that feature alone. But everything else is gone off my phone because it takes up too much space. I hate typing on that thing. If, I just have to remember to go check my social medias and, oh, did somebody ask a question or message me? Preferably people email me anyway, instead of messaging me on any other place, because I might not see it because I can't internet from the phone. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Anyway, so was there? I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. I mean, even if if somebody's still in here from the previous video and they asked a question that I missed, like whether it be about soap making, which reminds me, it seems like, I had one more thing I want to say about soap making that I probably won't think to go back and add in there, but sometimes, because I have a stick blender. I use that same stick blender for making mayonnaise with. There's only two things I use a stick blender for: making mayonnaise and making soap. Oh no, I'm using something that I make soap with to use in food. Same thing with these candy molds. I'll use them to make gummies or chocolates or whatever. And I also use them for soap. Now, these are a little more tricky, especially when you're talking about these rosette ones or these little face ones, because they got lot more crevices in them. You want to make sure you get them clean, because nobody wants to eat a chocolate or a gummy that tastes like soap. Yeah, a stick blender is an immersion blender. Thanks for asking that question, because I always just say stick blender, but yes, it's an immersion blender. I have a Cuisinart. It's pretty much all stainless steel. My first one I got was a Cuisinart, and it only had the stainless steel, the blender part, and everything else was plastic. It didn't last long. The one I have now has got the upper part. It was more expensive, but it was definitely worth it. Where the upper part is also stainless steel and the bottom is stainless steel. It has plastic buttons, but whatever. Anyway, people freak out when I've had people just totally freak out and say, you use that same thing that you use for making soap for food? Yeah. Well, I just don't think that's safe. What do you use to wash your dishes with? What do you use to wash that immersion blender with? Do you use soap? Like dish soap? I don't know. I just don't understand the freak out thing. On this, yes, because I have had some that I had to make sure I turned them inside out and really check to make sure there wasn't any soap pieces that got left in the crevices, because that would make for some pretty nasty tasting candy. I know why people freak out, though. It's because of the lye. You're not going to eat lye, but you know that lye is used to make, well, it's used for making, is it the lutefisk? And maybe the other types of fermented fish. They're soaked in lye first and then rinsed well. Also for making hominy, soaked in lye first. Process called nixtamation, if I remember correctly. I might be saying that wrong. Lye. The trouble with lye is it is caustic. It can burn you, but once it's been used in a certain way or combined with fat, because here, well, I don't know if you can technically call this soap yet because it's not fully hardened, but this is safe now because the lye and the fat are no longer lye and fat. It's soap. It's not lye anymore. So, and I use soap to wash things with. Anyway, it's just sometimes just a little bit of common sense. If we just think, am I being snarky? Never. I'm never snarky, ever. Of course I'm being snarky. I'm always snarky. Well, not always. Nixtamalize, bleh. That's the word. Thank you. That big long word there that starts with an Nixta. Yeah, that one. So, I mean, personally, I have no interest in eating fermented fish, but I do like hominy or corn nuts because then hominy that was soaked in corn that was soaked in lye is then, was it toasted or something? And then you get corn nuts. There was lye in that process. Now, I've had somebody just like totally rip me up one side and down the other for using these for food. And then they came back and this person was constantly rude to me anyway. So I somewhat condescendingly and snarkily explained the same thing to them. And they said they came back under a different profile, clearly the same person. Well, I don't think that would be acceptable by the Food and Drug, what was it? By the health authorities or something like that. And I'm like, well, it's a good thing I'm not making it for them. I'm just only making this stuff for our own personal use. It's like, good gravy. Are you lying? Is who lying? Me? Oh, am I lying about not being snarky? Yes. I try to be honest all the time, but sometimes I make up stuff just to be funny. Because I do enjoy being snarky sometimes. Sometimes I need to work on my attitude. I know. Oh, lying. Sandra. I wouldn't call it yummy, but I would sure eat them if I needed to. What's that? Eat what? So many ingredients in food that are also in non-edibles, right? And so many non-edibles that are in food. Man, I was thinking about this again, about the whole botulism thing again, and it still just amazes me that how many people will gladly inject themselves with botulism. Maybe some of them don't even know that it's actually botulism, but just the fact that it's botulinum toxin. Botulism, botulinum, BOT, toxin, Botox. Or the people that freak out about you doing this and don't even pay attention to the non-food cred that they add to your food, your processed foods in the store, or even foods that you don't think are processed, but they add it anyway. Like some of your store-bought milks, you got to be careful with. That's why I don't, even though it's really difficult for us to get good raw milk around here, I still will try to get organic whole milk wherever I can. Because the cheap milk, it's not cheap. It's really bad for your health. It's got so much crud added to it. Don't they add because the cows are always sickly, always have sores, oozing sores. And so they add ammonia to it to kill the bacteria that gets into the milk from the oozing sores when they're milking them. To add ammonia to it to kill that. And I think I remember reading a while back that they were adding to make up the difference because the flavor of the ammonia being added to the milk, then they add Starts with an A. That horrible aspartame. Aspartame. And I've seen like it's really hard to find, like, if you like to chew gum. I haven't chewed gum in a long time, but if you like to chew gum, it can be hard to find a good gum that actually just has got cane sugar like the way it once used to be. It's like if you're looking for a sugar-free gum, it's almost always got aspartame. But even gum that isn't necessarily sugar-free, it's got sugar in it plus aspartame. Why? Why? Somebody tell me why. Just out of curiosity, one time a few years back, I was at the store and I looked at a pack of Hubba Bubba just to see what the ingredients were. Sugar and aspartame. Or was it even cane sugar? It was probably corn syrup and aspartame. It's like, oh, well, this is double duty on the crud. Let's just make sure. Yes, Billy, exactly. So true. I really think that the fact that, because my mom was diabetic, which was, I believe, brought on by not, even though my grandma and great grandma were also diabetic, I think the main reasons all of them were poor diet choices, not genetics, because come to find out, it's poor diet more than anything, more than genetics, that contributes to becoming a diabetic. But so, of course, back in the 70s, it was the saccharin. So mom was always drinking those diet sodas with the saccharin. Oh, we got to get rid of the saccharin. Okay, now let's replace it with aspartame. So then she started, like, everything. I kept trying to tell her, it's like, Mom. But yeah, it caused a lot of health issues. And it just sickens me that people are, they convince you, they convinced us that margarine was so much healthier than butter. Absolutely not. And I even knew as a kid there was something wrong. I mean, I kind of grew up on margarine because mom always fell for all that stuff. But I remember the first time, I was 6 years old, the first time I remember having real butter, and I was a very, very, very shy child. I did not speak to anyone. And we were at this family's house. They'd never had dinner there before. I never had anyway. And they had real butter. And I think they had mashed potatoes. And I kept looking around, getting another thing of butter and put it on my mashed potatoes, like anybody paid. Getting some more butter, put on my mashed potatoes. Until finally the guy, he says, "Boy, you must really like butter." Oh, I was so embarrassed. I was hoping nobody noticed. But I was like, man, this stuff tastes so good. And I knew in my gut from that day forward, it had to be better for you than margarine. It wasn't until my adulthood that I did some research and found out most certainly it was. And I stopped buying margarine, and even though it was cheaper than butter, and just butter from then on, and never had to have guilt about it. Miracle Whip. Ugh, that stuff's just nasty anyway. Sorry for people who like that, but ew. Is there a better way? I mean, I don't even know what's in Miracle Whip. I just never liked the flavor of it. I always thought it was gross, but so I don't even know what's in it. I know it's really sweet, so it must have a lot of sugar. But I know you can make your own mayonnaise and have it be healthier. But what about Miracle Whip for those who like it? Is there a healthy recipes out there? Because like I said, I don't even know what's in the Miracle Whip. I'm assuming it's, yeah, they're not the same. Not the same. Ugh. Even as a kid, I knew that was wrong too. I loved mayonnaise. Now I can't stand store-bought mayonnaise. So ever since I've been making our own, I think my own homemade mayonnaise probably tastes like mayonnaise did when I was a kid, back when it was made with good ingredients. But this stuff now, it's just like, ew. What is in this stuff? And you realize they add gelatin or they add stuff to it to make it thick. So real mayonnaise isn't supposed to be gelatinous. I mean, you can make it thick, but it's not supposed to be gelatinous. So sugar and vinegar. Yeah, I can see that. Just ew. Ew. I know some people make potato salad with Miracle Whip instead of mayonnaise. Why? It's so wrong. Or deviled eggs. Ew. I'm sorry. I know there's some people out there. You grew up on Miracle Whip and you love it, and I mean that might be your thing. You might hate mayonnaise, but so personal preference. But there again, I go back to the fact that there were certain things I think in my soul knew that margarine and Miracle Whip were just wrong, and come to find out, I was right. Oh dear. So, and that's something else too. What about Cool Whip as opposed to real whipped cream? Again, something we were told oh, that whipped cream is so bad for you. Here, eat this fake stuff. It's better for you. And I used to like Cool Whip. Now that is one thing I used to like. And then I realized, wait a minute. One day, it's like this stuff's all fake. And then I switched to just making my own homemade whipped cream. And it was so easy. And I'm like, this is better. It tastes better. It's better for you. I use homemade yogurt and avocado oil for mayonnaise. Homemade yogurt, that's interesting. For mayonnaise? Huh. Because I just make mayonnaise with I use 2 whole eggs. I don't use just the yolks like some people do. I use 2 whole eggs, a cup of fat. So usually it's like a blend of refined coconut oil because I don't want the coconut flavor in there, and avocado oil. And I think I did add a splash of sesame seed oil to try it on one of them. That was pretty good. But just as long as it equals a cup, a little bit of mustard in there, salt, homemade vinegar. It's pretty good. See, I haven't had Cool Whip in so long. I'm not even sure what I'd think of it. I'd probably think it was too sweet. Because when I do make whipped cream, I don't add a ton of sugar to it. Just enough to get a little bit of that, just a little bit of sweetness. But usually, what are you putting it on? You're usually putting it on something like pumpkin pie or something that's already sweet. I like mixing it with homemade cranberry sauce. I like mixing the two together. So good. If you added herbs, sounds like a great vegetable dip. Oh yeah, the yogurt. Yeah. So okay, so Dusty, to give it. Okay, do you like blend it at all? Like when you're making mayonnaise, that's like I said, that's where I use the immersion blender. It works far better than using a regular blender. That's the one thing that it definitely made a difference. But you gotta like pour the oil in, and you gotta blend it, and that's where it starts to thicken and I want to say emulsify. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but anyway, gives it that consistency. Because if you just mix just lightly mix the eggs in the oil, they're not going to do that. You got to blend it. It's that whole emulsion process. I think that's what you're calling it, because it's the same idea as if you're making homemade lotion, which I did once. I'm like, this is a messy process. I'm not doing this again. I'll just stick with my skin cream, where I just mix the stuff together, melt it so it mixes together nicely, and I don't have to use my blender and have this big old mess. So I usually use cream cheese when I'm making dips. Like I'll make like a salmon dip, usually around the holidays. Onions, garlic, a little salt, pepper. And I usually add some kind of liquid to it to make it thinner, because otherwise the cream cheese is just too thick. What do I add? Milk. I think I just add milk to it to thin it out. Warm it up, add a little milk, thin it out. But I could see the yogurt working really good for that, because it's already in more of a, it's not so thick as the cream cheese. So, and then in that case, I do use, what is it, Organic Valley cream cheese, because I can get that from Misfits Market. I also found I can get it at a better price from Azure Standard. Nancy's has a cream cheese. and I found I didn't like it as much as the Organic Valley cream cheese. And I can get, but you can get either one of those from Azure Standard. Let's see. Raw milk with cream tastes full body. Oh, by the way, so I found I could get the Organic Valley whipping cream from Misfits Market. I don't know why I never looked it up before instead of just the half and half. So I always, a lot of times I'm using half and half because it's harder for me to find the organic whipping cream. But I can get organic half and half. Well, they have the Organic Valley whipping cream. Like, yes. So the last few frozen treats I've been making, I've been actually adding the whipping cream to it, the whole stuff. Oh man, so good. So the ones I made, and I stopped using the popsicle molds. I'm like, you know what? I don't really like these. And Patrick doesn't mind eating them out of the glass, he said. So I'm like, I'm gonna start doing it this way. It's easier. So I just make them in the glass and we eat it with a spoon. And so Friday I made some with, I just went out and picked a bunch of strawberries. It wasn't enough to make, to make the amount I like to make. So we still had some peaches in the fridge that we hadn't eaten yet. So I threw some peaches in there. So I made a strawberry peach, used the whole cream, whipping cream in there and some honey. Oh man, those turned out good. Today I went out and picked raspberries and used the last of the peaches in there. And I haven't tried that one yet, but I know it's going to be good because raspberry and peach together is a really good flavor mixed together. Then I made some with currants. It was good, but it was almost a little too much because the currants are so tart. But I think I'm going to try mixing the red currants because I get so many currants. I give so many of them to my chickens. But I'm going to try making some with currant and peaches. Even though I used up the peaches in the fridge, I have some frozen diced peaches I got from Azure to try. And I'm going to do a currant peach frozen treat, Dealy Bobby. I don't know what to call it. There's got to be something easier to call it because I can't really call it a creamsicle anymore because I'm not making them in the molds. It's fun to do that from time to time. It's just, I prefer it in the glass. And the little molds don't hold as much as like your little half pint jars do. So for $10 a gallon, I can't tell you how disappointed we were. So, $10 a gallon for what? What was it? What did I miss? Was it some raw milk that you had bought? Because that sounds like an average price. That's what it is. There is a creamery about 75 miles from here. They do sell raw milk, and last time we bought it, it was like $10 a gallon, I think. I think it was $10. It was good. My nephew works there now. He loves it. He actually works with the cattle, and he's always posting pictures. And I'm so glad to see him have a good job, like his first real good job. And he just loves it because he's working on a farm, and I love to see that he's doing that. So, yeah, yogurt sweetened. Yeah, right. I've thought about doing that with yogurt. Patrick just does not like yogurt at all. That's why you don't see me using yogurt for much stuff. I've used yogurt and I've also used when I was doing milk kefir to make ranch dressing. Now he doesn't mind it in that, even though he knows he doesn't like cream cheese either, but he'll eat the dips when I make them. So it depends on how the things are being used. He doesn't like sour cream either. He doesn't like any like fermented dairy product. None of them. Unless they're used in a certain way where he doesn't notice that taste of yogurt or cream cheese or sour cream or whatever. Because once in a while we'll make stroganoff, and stroganoff has sour cream in it, and he doesn't mind that. But anyway, but to make him a frozen treat with the yogurt, I don't think he'd like that. Raw milk is illegal in Canada. Grass-fed moo-moos. Best milk I've ever had. Yeah, I wish it was easier for us to get here. I mean, when I first started my channel in the early years of my channel, there was a lady that had goats. I've shared this story before, and I'd go visit her once a week, and she would give me at least a gallon to a gallon and a half of raw goat milk every week. And it was good milk. I've had some goat milk that I don't know what they did, but it wasn't, it tasted terrible. Hers was really good. And she'd just give it to me. It was she found my channel. She really liked my channel. It was her way of thanking me. But the reason that stopped is her and her husband ended up getting a divorce. He ended up leaving her, and she couldn't keep doing all that hard work by herself, and she had to simplify. So it was really sad. Not just because of the law. I was more sad for her. But it was also sad not getting the milk anymore, because we'd end up with more milk than we could use. And so I was using that to make cheese. I even have a video showing me, and it's one that I've also remastered, making cheese from like a farmer's cheese, but I made 4 different kinds, flavored them all different, because I'd end up with so much milk. She'd give me so much. And then I took some of the cheese and gave it to her too to try, and she liked it. But I think my favorite ones were was it tomato and rosemary? Did I do a tomato and rosemary? That one was really good. I did a turmeric, and I don't remember what I added to the turmeric one. That was okay. They were all good, but there were a couple of my favorites. I think the rosemary, tomato, and what was the other one? Oh, it was probably rosemary, tomato, and garlic. But there was one more. There's 4 different ones. Oh my gosh, I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I haven't done that in so long. I haven't had the milk, all the extra milk to make cheese with, and not that I can't do it with the organic milk that I get from either Misfits Market or, if we get into Costco, then we'll stock up on a bunch there, because that's the best price on organic whole milk for us anyway, is at Costco. But yeah, she was super. She was always wanting to give me stuff, and she wanted to buy skin cream from me. She wanted me to make her an apron, and she was going to pay me for all that stuff. I said, no, here, you can take this skin cream. I made her the apron. You can have the apron. You're not paying me. But it was also because I would go visit her, because she'd get pretty lonely. And because her husband, even when they were still married, he worked down in Oregon. And so he was gone all week, which I could relate to that, because there was a time when Patrick was working in Duval, which is about 4 hours from here. So he would stay there and then come home. Usually it was every other weekend, because his schedule was so weird, because he worked 12-hour days. But then he'd get long weekends, like every other weekend. He'd get like a 3-day weekend. And then they would do I guess you call it a swing shift, because every 6 weeks he would switch from night shift to day shift. And then when there was that shift, he would get a whole week off in between, and he'd come home then. So I'd go visit her on Tuesdays, because that just worked out to be a good day. And I'd visit her for a few hours, and we'd talk about all kinds of stuff, dehydrating, canning, or just whatever. And then she'd send me home with some milk. It was a great arrangement. So it was kind of like a thank you for taking my time to go visit her, and to, for putting out the videos. But I still didn't take advantage of that either. Because, if she wanted something, I'd give it to her. I didn't want her paying me for it, because I figured she paid me enough in milk. More than enough. So anyway, I do miss that. That was a nice arrangement, though I wouldn't have time to go hang out especially on Tuesdays because I typically have all 3 grandbabies, and eventually I'll probably have all 4 at some point. So, at any rate, I should probably get off here. And I've talked plenty long enough because I've been on this chat here, this one for an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't know how long I was on the other one. It was a while. Could have been an hour before I got cut off from there. So I do have other things to do. I got to go wash my dishes now. I got a lot done before I started my live, but I got to go wash my dishes and finish making the lasagna. That might be it. I probably have some gardening stuff I need to get done, but it should be a pretty calm rest of my afternoon after that. So anyway, so again, I really appreciate y'all coming in here and all the frustration of jumping from one live stream to the next, and you follow me right over there. Appreciate that so much. And just all your support just by being here. And even if you don't get to see it live and you come back later and you watch a replay and you give it a thumbs up, really, really appreciate all that. And just the fun that we have, the chatting, even though I miss a lot of the chat because I'm usually trying to teach something at the same time. And sorry that I don't get to read all of the comments, but I do appreciate the interaction and you guys helping each other out is so cool. You know, somebody asks a question, somebody else comes back right in there, and it's just a great community that I'm really privileged to be a part of. You know, you guys are great people, and I really enjoy y'all. You guys really make my week. I don't know when I'll go back to doing Wednesdays. It'll probably be, I'm thinking it'll probably be after all the harvesting and putting up for the season is done and things kind of calm down a bit. But I kind of miss not doing Wednesdays, but right now it's been a good thing for my vocal cords and the time, you know, because there's so much going on. Anyway, and hopefully by next Sunday, I'll finally have my 4th grandbaby. I can't imagine she'd go another whole week. That'd be crazy. So anyway, love y'all. And again, thank you. Thank you for everything. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week. Thanks for coming in. Take care and God bless. Bye.